Hey guys, happy Wednesday. It is October 16th, 2019. Happy hump day. Super excited to be here with the beautiful Shweta Patel. Welcome. Give her a thumbs up and a heart. Let us know you can hear us and see us. She's got a fantastic story. She looks beautiful. She's a sweet person. She's funny. But you're going to want to hear her journey. So we want to make sure, and what's great, you don't know this, but you haven't done live. Normally that live number doesn't tell you who can watch, because believe it or not, you can watch shows and be anonymous. So all of you guys, I know, all of you guys who are back there, we just want to make sure you can hear us and see us. And I'm going to go into it like I told you, because I don't want you to sit here forever. But people will pop on and it says live, so we're golden. All right, so you corrected me. I said Shweta. It's Shweta.
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 Like
Shweta.
Yep.
Shweta Patel.
Yep.
So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so you have to tell me really before we get to origin, tell me what Shweta means or what that is.
It's actually a really great question because it's derived from Sanskrit and it means pure.
Pure. I love it. How did your parents come up with that? Have they ever told you that story?
Yeah, actually, this is at least my mom's version. I think she may have embellished it a little, but she says that when I was born, my hands came out like this. And this is one of the common hand gestures of a goddess in India whose one of her many names is Shwetambri. So my mom was like, we have to name her Shweta.
Cool. Oh, see?
Yeah.
See, this is why I don't plan anything, because that question came to me and I'm fascinated. All right, so give us a little journey on you. Give us a background on who you are and kind of how we got here, and then we'll talk about smart, strong, and independent.
That's right.
All right.
So a little background about me. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show.
I'm blessed to have you.
This is an amazing honor, and I'm very excited to be here and have a chance to speak to your audience and my friends, and hopefully a larger audience, so that we can, get the message out, and hopefully, I can get to meet more inspiring people through the process. So I actually am originally from New York.
Really? What part?
I was brought up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And then I went to high school in Queens, and then I did my undergraduate and graduate studies in Buffalo, New York.
I was born in Jersey. I think I told you that. But I love Brooklyn. Was one of my favorite places for pizza.
Yeah.
Love the food there. But I love all things about New York.
Well,
I think it's amazing.
Brooklyn, when I was growing up, was a little different than Brooklyn when it is.
That's
right
true.
Now. I mean, it's definitely changed, but it was a little bit more rough when I was growing up, courtesy of which my parents would never let me do anything outside of going to school and coming straight back. So I had a pretty sheltered childhood.
That's true. I think people forget, like now Park Slope and Williamsburg and all of those places are so shishi.
Yeah,
right?
they're trendy.
Browns,
they're hipster.
Yeah, they're hipster.
Yeah.
And that was not the case back in the day.
We're talking like barred windows.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yep.
And now they are selling for multi-million dollars for those brownstones.
I know.
I love that.
Which is also kind of very inspiring to me, because one of the things that I have fortunately recently got involved in is multifamily apartment complexes and investing in them. And I remember the first time I looked into doing that, I remember one of the apartment offering memorandums had a breakdown of what the apartments looked like, and it reminded me of an apartment that we were brought up in New York. And I was brought up for the majority of my young and teenage years. My family and I, we lived in a one-bedroom apartment, the four of us, two teenage girls, and my parents.
God
That's all we could
bless them.
afford. So it was a great moment to be like, I'm blessed that I've come far from that to this, but also to be able to turn around and say that was such an important aspect of our upbringing, that we had that comfortable home to live in, even though to others it might have been just like, oh, it's a small tiny one-bedroom apartment in New York that's overpriced and has God knows what other tenants living in terms of like roaches.
Right.
But being able to have that was our security and our safe place, and being able to now kind of go around, turn around and provide that for others is pretty inspiring.
I think it's amazing that people have that memory, and so there's something that motivates you early on.
Yeah.
Obviously you weren't born and then decided you want to invest in multi-family projects. You have a whole other journey that I'd love for you to share with them. And then I do want to talk about the topic, very much so.
So my My journey basically went from New York to I actually joined the military. And
See, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
There's all these layers.
I
We're
love the
peeling them
layers.
back.
That's
How
so
long do you have?
important. We have all the time in the world.
So I actually joined the military because I had gotten accepted into medical school, and that was a very long dream of mine to pursue medicine as a full-time career. And so once I got in, I was like, well, wait, how am I actually going to pay for this? Going back to my upbringing, I was taught at a very young age to be extremely aware of finances and be responsible about what's coming in, what's going out of the bank. And
so you learned that early, right?
Very early.
So your family was super good. I think a lot of kids come out and they don't have any of that training.
And that's one thing I want to encourage in the youth is to be more aware of what things are worth and what things, not just monetarily, but effort-wise and time-wise and commitment-wise and learning that accountability. And I think that came a lot from my upbringing, and then also B, from being groomed in the military.
Sure.
But I joined primarily, and I admit it openly even now, I joined primarily because it was a way to get a free ride for med school.
Sure.
I got a scholarship through joining the Navy, and then it turned into what was originally just a financially smart decision into a life-changing, amazing experience. So 13 years in the military.
13 years. Thank you so much for your service. That's
honor.
Absolutely amazing.
I got to meet some amazing teachers, mentors, friends, patients, and build some really lifelong relationships through my experience with the Navy. Got to learn how to firefight, kind of, not really. But I can successfully put out a fire.
Is that what your role was in the Navy?
No, I actually, I was a naval physician, so I was an OBGYN for the Navy.
Wow.
Yep.
And so you stayed through all of did you do everything all the way up to residency and the whole shebang in the Navy?
So I was at SUNY Buffalo for my med school, and technically commissioned into the United States Navy at the time. So I would go through my regular med school and then over the summers do 45 days of active service. And then upon graduating med school, I actually went to Walter Reed for my residency out in Bethesda, Maryland.
Awesome.
And so I spent a good 4 years there, and then my first duty station as a full-fledged staff physician was in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune.
Wow.
Yep, with the Marines.
And why OB/GYN?
To be honest, one of the things I remember walking into med school and thinking on the first day was, I don't know what I want to do, but I do know what I don't want to do, and that's probably be an OB/GYN. I can't even fathom it. And then, of course, never say never. I left all of my OB/GYN rotations till the end of the year, thinking it's just, maybe it's not interesting, I don't want to do it. I just, let me get everything else lined up. I knew I'd narrowed it down to surgery or emergency medicine. And then I got to OB and realized it was like something just hit me in the face. It's like, oh, wait. This is both. I get to have that adrenaline rush of suddenly something happening that's really urgent, and you really need to be under control and composed to be able to respond and take care of your patient, to being able to solve the problem by surgically doing surgery on the patient, or even more important, being able to actually follow that patient through and through various stages of their life, and not just having to either offer them medication and then refer them to somebody else, or offer them surgery and refer them to somebody else. I can take my patients from the moment they walk in the door in their teens all the way up till when they're in their late years and talking about menopause, and I love it.
I think the rotation thing's so important. My daughter's an oncology nurse, but she originally wanted to be OB/GYN. Mm-hmm. So she did that rotation first, and it was not for her. But isn't that wonderful that you have rotation, internship,
to get
you're
your
doing
feet wet.
Yeah, because what if what you think it is, it isn't, which is usually sort of how it happens.
You got to date before you get married.
You got to date. That's why I'm always amazed at kids in college where they're working a part-time job that has nothing to do with what their field is. Mm-hmm. And so they don't know, and then they get into the field and they've basically wasted 4 years. Right. And they're like, why did I not do anything? Yeah. So we encourage all of three of my kids have had to do internships. It has changed the trajectory of what they thought they wanted to do, because once they got into it, they're like, not for me. Yeah. But that's so important, because you're getting this education, you want to do this and you think you want to do it, but if you have no real life experience in it, That's why I love anything medical, because it forces you. That is part of the program.
Right. It's awesome that you actually are so supportive of your kids like that. You know, sometimes that's the challenge. It's like we don't have the opportunity to explore other options because we've always been brought up in that mentality of this is what I've always wanted to do. My parents, I am very fortunate to say, they were very supportive of all of my random endeavors. And one day I came home and I said, I want to be a VJ or a jockey on a show host.
Video jockey.
Yeah, and then I had a phase where I wanted to be a flight attendant just because it seemed like a cool idea and
travel the world.
Even though I get airsick all the time.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a rate limiting factor. So they were pretty cool about it, and I naturally made my way ultimately back to just wanting to do medicine, and then loved OBGYN and.
Well, you do find your way, right? So if you have that support system that allows you to kind of go that direction. My middle daughter, she hates the story, so that's why I tell it as much as possible.
Of course.
She all of a sudden in midstream, she said, I want to be a screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so you don't want to be in Texas. She was at TCU to do this. You can go to New York or LA, mm-hmm. like UCLA or USC or something over there, and then or NYU. Mm-hmm. But can you tell me, have you written anything? Nope. Okay. So you're going to lift your whole life up and go that way. And so we were supportive as much as we could be.
Right.
But I think that you have to kind of let people figure it out.
Right.
And then the question, of course, of her not having written anything yet, just begged her to, in her brain, go, maybe this isn't for
right.
me. But you have to have that. But a lot of times, it's if you're not in the medical field or you're not, you don't have a college that is supportive of internships and getting your feet wet and your hands
right.
dirty, you end up graduating with a degree that means absolutely nothing to you, and you don't do it the rest of your life. And it's an unfortunate waste of a lot of money and a lot of time. I have a finance degree. I don't even know how to add 2 plus 2 very well. But if I had to do it all over again, I think that I would have done more liberal studies, mm-hmm. Not have stressed so much about that, because I just don't enjoy math, mm-hmm. but that's the path somebody put me down, and mm-hmm. I just kept going.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's really good. Oh, so you're a practicing OBGYN.
Yeah, actually.
Which is amazing.
That's what brought me down to Orlando. I, after getting out of the military, I did a stint of 2 jobs in terms of like being in the private practice, one in Memphis and then one in Virginia, and ultimately came across this amazing opportunity at Orlando Health. And it was one of those, I can't walk away, can't deny the job offer, and had to just accept it sort of a thing. They made me such a great position, and so here I was like, all right, here we come, Florida.
Doors
so
open.
6 months ago I moved down here and started
moving down here 6 months, I want to tell you that your name almost immediately started to show up in things that groups that I am either part of or circles I run in, and that says a lot for somebody who didn't have the connections down here.
Yeah.
So how did you do that? Let's talk about it. Smart, strong, independent, right? So you had to have all of that. How did you come down and go, all right, I'm going to do these things? And you didn't just do them quietly. I feel like you really have made a big splash here.
Thank you. To be honest, I think that the only difference between my moving to Orlando and my moving to any other city, which I did do a lot being in the military, I moved around quite some. I think the credit doesn't just all go to me. Orlando has been exceptionally welcoming and
awesome.
Warm in terms of receiving my efforts to become not a new girl here anymore. But I do think that a large part of what you're seeing is the help that I got with my marketing for my obstetrician job. As a brand new OBGYN in this area, people didn't know how well or how not well I did as an OBGYN in Virginia. And so it was like starting from scratch, building up my brand new practice. And so as a result of that, I got involved in a lot of networking, a lot of hand-to-hand direct meeting and getting involved in Rotary of Horizon West, Chamber of Commerce of West Orange County, and just being more involved in anything and everything that could get me to be in front of people, get to know the community better, get to see opportunities to serve the community better, and also to let them know that, hey, there's a new female OBGYN right behind you, like in your backyard. You don't have to go all the way, across town.
I love that, because you are, in my opinion, or my experience, the antithesis of the stereotypical physician. Most of the times you don't hear about a doctor being involved in the community, and I mean that not in a negative way,
Time,
but
right.
get time, right?
Yeah.
So when Derek booked the show time, the first thing I thought of is she not practicing anymore? And the reason is because that's the stereotype. You've
Right.
got office hours, so for you to be involved in Rotary and the Chamber and things like that, you normally don't see physicians out in that
Right.
arena, especially during the day. Because that's when you see most of your patients. So that's very forward thinking. Have you had challenges with that? When you have a patient load and you're trying to figure out how to work your business and run your business and then still be out there in the community like you are?
I think it comes with setting priorities, and time management is very important. I struggle with it like anybody else. But I think that I knew initially coming in I wasn't going to be turning patients away at the door. My practice was going to be slow to build up, and so I wanted to take advantage of that extra time
Yeah.
and market as hard as I could during that time, which ended up just working really well for my real estate side of my interests and passions. Meeting a lot of local powerful women and you know in future like potential patients category, but then realizing, oh, you're a realtor, oh, you're you know into commercial real estate, you're in the tiling business, you're an attorney, and just realizing these are wonderful women that I want to actually get to know, not just as a potential where I can be their OBGYN, but also as a networking opportunity for business acquaintances and future friendships. So that's how I ended up meeting so many of the wonderful relationships I now have with the Orlando real estate world, and kind of put me onto the stepping stone of just meeting more and more wonderful people who are out there trying to take their life to the next level, and just gave me the same kind of inspiration to do so for myself.
Well, it's such a dichotomy. Like you've got this cool, you've got a career that you've built, lots of schooling, very well respected career, and then real estate, usually that's the dabbling part, but you really take it seriously. We were just talking about your mastermind, which I want you to talk about a little bit.
Sure.
And you've already had an event that I had to miss. Like you're very active in that, in addition to having your full-time, very taxing, very time-consuming career as an OBGYN. So how do you get out into the real estate world? What is it that you're focusing on?
Sure.
Personally
So,
for you?
I actually first got involved in real estate in Memphis, where I was building my own brand new home. I realized that I very much enjoyed the process of picking all the finishes and whatnot. Somehow that just catapulted me into having a single family home rental portfolio. I bought one house, moved out of it, and then ended up renting it, realized, oh, this is great. Somebody else is paying for my mortgage. And so then realized I can keep doing this, and slowly developed a small portfolio of maybe 6 rental houses. And it was going well. I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was like, look at me, I'm like a real estate person. I got my things going on. And then one, toilet breaking, or one tenant deciding that they're moving, and things would completely come to a standstill in terms of expenses. So I decided that I needed to re-strategize my portfolio to something that would be more effective for someone like me who is not spending all of her time in real estate investing, and would like to have a more reliable cushion to settle back on once I'm done practicing. And so I came across multifamily investing, and met one of my mentors, Vinny Chopra, through that process, and he is a fantastic human being. I mean, there's just no other way to describe him. The guy's always smiling. His middle name is actually Smiles. And he basically helped me take that step into buying apartment complexes and being a partner in a syndication. And so through that, I actually met even more wonderful people and started to forge connections with people who are of the same mindset of wanting to be more involved in real estate, utilizing it as a tool to attain financial independence.
Because that's really what it amounts to, right?
Right.
Real estate, you've seen all the quotes, heard all the quotes, but you're building this portfolio. It's passive income, for lack of a better word. It's not completely passive, but
exactly.
you still have to work at it, but once it's there, once you've established it, once you get into it, because multifamily is completely different than residential as far as some of the purchasing process goes.
Right.
But once you have it,
Right.
it's just like you've got, I don't know, 10 houses in
Right.
one.
The first one's the hardest.
The first one's the hardest, and I think a lot of people would love to get in to that. So what was your first step? So you had a mentor, you had Vinny help you.
Yes.
What was it like the first process? Because I think there are plenty of opportunities still out there in Central Florida for people to get involved, to maybe make that leap. Maybe single family homes aren't your thing.
Right.
Multifamily is your thing.
Right.
What's some advice that you can give them?
So I think it's important to do lots and lots of learning and getting familiar with what you think is going to be a good niche for you. I actually, even before I met Vinny, when I decided to go from the single family portfolio into more of a commercial real estate investment portfolio, went on biggerpockets.com and shout out to Bigger Pockets. Love those
Bigger
guys.
Pockets, I've heard of it.
Wonderful podcast, and I learned everything I needed to learn to take my first commercial real estate investment step, which was purchasing a mobile home park. And it was incredible the amount of support and education I was able to just get from that website. So after purchasing that first park, I moved down here and met with Vinny, and that's how I took the next step into the apartment syndications. But in the process of realizing how pivotal Bigger Pockets was in finding the education I needed to do my first mobile home park acquisition, I realized I want to start a group here that will be able to connect on that ground. I'm sure there's several other Bigger Pockets fans, and wanting to meet, wanting to provide each other with opportunities, network, basically work together and make deals happen. And so I started the Bigger Pockets Orlando group. It's not officially affiliated with Bigger Pockets, just making sure for legality.
Gotta put it out
It
there.
is an interest group, our common interest being real estate and our awareness of Bigger Pockets.
But I love that. So we were talking about your mastermind, which I want to talk about a little bit. Well, actually, probably a lot. But I think it's so awesome that this could be just something you keep to yourself. You have plenty to keep you busy. But you want to continue to grow, and then that growth is all about collaboration for you.
Right.
And I think people miss out on the collaboration. They feel like it's competition. We try to educate them here on the show that collaboration is a really good thing.
Right.
You just have to do it in the right way, take your time, but you're very collaborative. You have a collaborative spirit.
I think that's where my military background came in, learning that independent mindset of is important. Being able to function autonomously is important, but knowing the value of teamwork, knowing the value of other people's strengths and your weaknesses, and seeing where you can collaborate to fill those gaps in and scale a lot more than if you were to try to do everything yourself.
Correct. The scale's so important, but I think people want to they think they're the first person to ever come up with
It's
an
that
idea.
secret. They don't want anybody to know.
Oh my God, I
That
can't
sounds
share
like a
it.
great deal. I don't want anybody to know. What if
And
something
it's
happens?
so the opposite way
Yeah.
of the way you need to really think
Right.
to continue to grow in a more positive, exponential way.
Right.
If you're going to keep all of it here, I mean, it just makes no sense to me, but you have to teach that because we're taught to be competitive, and competitive means you're
Right.
against other people. When in reality, it should just be you're working against yourself or with yourself,
Right.
and these people are here to help you. These people listen, I learn every single day. One of the reasons I love the show is I learn something from every person who comes on here. Sometimes it's the things I don't want to do, but 99% of the time it's the things I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. And so it's so good to have that collaborative spirit. So talk about your mastermind.
Okay.
'Cause I love this. Mastermind, and I want people are actually afraid of that word. They're intimidated by it. And I want you to know that you don't have to be a master of your mind. I'm just telling you right now,
Definitely not.
it's a wonderful word that scares people. Mastermind just means that you're all coming together to try to figure out, maybe master the thing that you're talking about. It doesn't mean that Shweta is more intelligent, although she is, than me. It just means that she has ideas and she wants to learn from you, and you're coming together with a commonality and trying to figure out how to do things better.
It's like a brainstorming group with lots of wine and potential for really awesome
I'm hooked right
opportunities,
there.
right? Like, how can you go wrong? So the mastermind that I am having actually this Friday It's titled Doctoring Real Estate, and I specifically titled it because I can't believe the number of physician colleagues that I have met along the way who are where I used to be in terms of the mindset of, oh, as a physician, clock in, clock out, work hard till you're 65, and then you finally get to take a step back and relax and enjoy the fruits of all of your labor. And even though it may not be just because and it's not just driven by the fact that they love their job so much that that's all they want to do. Oftentimes it's actually not. There's so much physician burnout these days.
Right.
But they have this sense of like, that's the only option out there. And also not knowing how to maximize the money they are earning to work for them rather than working for the money all the time.
Correct.
And so I've been blessed to meet all these wonderful people who are well involved in real estate and finances, and it just seemed logical to bring some of my closest friends and colleagues to the table and say, guys, you need to hear what some of these people are saying that I'm doing, that's been working for me, that you probably had no idea you could also be doing, and it's not as difficult or intimidating as it sounds. In fact, I guarantee you, if you actually start thinking this way, start making these small shifts in the way you manage your money or invest your money, you'll be able to achieve things that you didn't really even think you had a chance at achieving,
right,
probably sooner than you might have even on your own. And so that's the point of the mastermind.
Do you have to be a doctor to be in it?
No, it's just.
I love the terminology.
Thank you. I thought, I'm doctoring real estate, so
good.
That's what I'm calling it.
I love it.
Thank you. It's really just for anybody who would like to achieve financial independence. And what that basically means is have enough money coming in without having to do the classic 8 to 5 job where you can have all of your expenses paid for. And then you have the freedom and luxury of doing whatever you're doing because you want to, not only because you have to and you might also want to.
So can somebody who's a beginner, let's say somebody who says, I'm super excited, I am interested in what you're talking about, can they come to the mastermind?
Absolutely, as long as they let me know so I can give them my gate code.
Listen, all right. We're going to share that later, by the way, yes. I promise, because I think it's super important. And I love the fact that you're taking time out. Again, traditionally, physicians, attorneys too, when you have that kind of job, the perception is that you don't do anything out in the community except go to really big ticket item charity events. I'm just speaking the truth because I know that's what people are thinking.
I see that perception.
It's so important to know that you have creative people like Shweta out there who is trying to disturb that, push that button out, get rid of that stereotype, disrupt, because it's important because of the way our world is working. Physicians don't have that giant, wonderful guarantee anymore either. And so they're not that completely protected entity anymore, which is why we have so many challenges in the health field right now. And it's so important for you to diversify what you're doing. And so I love the fact that you're willing to share that information with them. You're willing to give that to him. All right, so see how fast it goes?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to share all of Shweta's contact information, how you can reach out to her. I'll share the link to the mastermind, which I think I saw on Facebook. It's either, okay, I'll share that, and so will she. One of the big things that we love to talk about are mentors on the TED Show. We want you guys to get more involved, mentor another human being. And the best way we can do that is if we have the guests, give a shout out, because you never know who might need a mentor, and you never ever want to believe that you couldn't be a mentor to someone. So give a shout out, one or two, to somebody who's helped you along the way.
I would like to give a shout out to 2 people, one who hopefully is listening, one who's probably not listening for sure. But first and foremost to my mentor, Vinny Chopra. He has been pivotal in kind of helping me regroup and re-strategize how I'm approaching my passion in real estate and how I'm actually approaching my life and my entire mindset and how much energy I dedicate to it. And it's been a huge game changer getting to meet him. And then the second shout out I want to send out to Dr. Pepe. He's the reason I got my job down here. And it's he's a great guy, great
Dr.
physician.
Peppy, I love that.
The name is.
I mean, it's awesome.
It's almost fitting. But he's a fantastic physician, fantastic, mentor and superior, and it's been great to have him as a person, confidant, and advisor to work with as well.
Awesome. See, you're a joy. See how fast it goes?
Yeah.
Goes fast?
Oh
Was
my
it hard?
God, I'm a little sweaty, but hey.
It was not hard. You know why it's not hard? Because people come on and they talk about their journey and they're authentic and vulnerable, and that's what Shweta did today.
Oh,
thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
Reach
you.
out to her again. Just give us a couple of minutes and we will share all of that information. Look, if you're interested in anything, multifamily real estate, whatever the mastermind is, you want to go anyway, you want to get to know her, but you have to reach out to her in order to do it, so just don't show up. All
And
right?
if you need a really cool OBGYN, I know one.
We know one. All right, you're a joy. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
on the show. We love you guys. We'll be back soon. Mwah.